Today's stop is the Church of Sant'Anastasia, originally dedicated to the wealthy woman who owned this house. Her name is Anastasia too. It's now dedicated to the 5th century martyr, Sant'Anastasia.
That's a lot of Anastasias.
That is a lot of Anastasia. So traditionally this church was the first stop on Ash Wednesday. The people would gather here and then do a 10-minute procession up to Santa Sabina for the Ash Wednesday Mass. It is now the Church of Perpetual Adoration in Rome. In fact, it is the first church to ever have perpetual adoration in Rome, and I'm pretty sure to this day is the only church in Rome with perpetual adoration. That's
Wow.
pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So an interesting fact about this church is that St. Jerome lived here, celebrated Mass here. They have the altar where he celebrated Mass and the chalice. And what else about St. Jerome?
He was the first titular of this church.
Right, so titular is a title usually reserved for a cardinal, but they gave the church to him after he was dead, like 1600 years after his death. They dedicated this church to him because he had lived here. And one other interesting side note about this church, it's the first church in Rome to have the baptistry inside.
It is?
Uh-huh. So before that, all the baptistries would be outside the church.
Wow.
So let's go in and have a look at this lovely, lovely, beautiful church.
Sant'Anastasia was a 4th century virgin and martyr. During the Diocletian persecutions, she would visit the Christian prisoners to console them. One Christian she often visited was Saint Chrysogonus. Eventually, she too was arrested for being a Christian and taken before the emperor. He and several others tried to convince her to denounce her faith, but she would not, so she was sentenced to die by starvation. However, she did not die in prison, so she was moved to another and they tried to starve her there. Again, she would not die, so she was sent out to sea on a boat. The boat was full of holes and meant to sink, but it didn't. Instead, it washed ashore. She was finally martyred by being staked to the ground and burned. We remember her in the Roman canon of the Mass, so if her name sounds familiar, that's probably why.